Good afternoon, assalamu alaikum everyone, welcome to another testing video. This time we are at Llandow. Yes, I can do the double L, although I'm probably not doing it very well. Anyway, any Welsh people, feel free to hate on me in the comments. So, this was testing for BPEC on the Friday. It was a double header, so we were racing on Saturday and Sunday, and we're heading straight out on to the circuit. To be fair, I felt relatively okay at Llandow. Not amazing, but not terrible. So I thought, as per usual, I'd upload about 20 minutes, or I think it's closer to about 15 minutes worth of no, it's 20 minutes of footage. So I hope you enjoy it. I hope you find it useful. This first lap is going to be quite slow. Again, it's coming up the pits, it's on cold tires, but the pace will pick up, and we had a couple of good battles or good references as well out on circuit. I felt in particular in the pro karts here, it was very important to be smooth. There was one corner where you had to be quite aggressive, which is the chicane that we just went through, but everywhere else you had to be quite smooth. And I think at the start I was being a bit aggressive into some braking zones, kind of doing the standard of locking up the rears a little bit, particularly into the final corner, but I don't think it worked. And yeah, we've got the different camera angle on. We've got the what do you call it, the engine mount camera as opposed to the nose camera. I will try to get more nose cameras going, but yeah, I need to actually get a what do you call it, a GoPro mount onto one of those Nassau panels and get some cable ties to secure it all down and everything, because it does get very shaky over there, but it is a much better camera angle. So hopefully in the future I'll get that camera angle going for everyone, just so you get to see some better footage. But we're heading into the final corners for what will probably be one of my first decent laps. Again, don't know how good it's going to be. So into turn one, you kind of just send it power braking and then try to get this second apex around the left-hander, which you can't really see with this camera angle. And again, late on the brakes, make the two apexes through the double left and then into the double right. This was one of those corners where you have to be super patient. I personally found that you have to take it really tight and essentially just wait until you can fully get on the power. Full send into the downhill right-hander. That one was really fun. Not really sideways, and then all of the curb through the right, get on the curb through the left, and then back on the curb through the right, which is much easier said than done, because, I don't know, you're kind of sending the car in, so it's so easy for the car to just understeer and drift out wide, which is what I found happening a lot of the time. Or if you do somehow get that front to turn in, then you're in a worse situation where the rear end is coming out like crazy. So you're then spending all of your time trying to catch the rear and you still miss the apex. So it's really, really tricky to get right, I think, personally. But Llandow's always been one of those weird circuits for me. Haven't had a huge amount of time here in general, and when I have, I've never really enjoyed it that much. But to be fair, in the BPEC karts, it was actually quite entertaining, and once I had a few quick people around me, I started to get a much better idea of how to drive, what I needed to do, and you're going to be seeing a few of those people very soon, because as we make our way through the final corner, you'll see that just in front of us is a certain Henry Trino, who is a very quick driver. He's racing for the team that is leading the championship, and he's going to let me through because he's just come out of the pit, so he's on cold tires and all of that. And as you'll see, he was very quick. He was actually on older tires than me as well. I was on pretty much brand new tires. They'd done about maybe half an hour, 40 minutes by this point, and I think Henry's had done about 4 hours. So that's probably about 2/10 a lap difference, maybe 3/10 a lap difference between the two sets of tires. But he was all over the back of me, and he was definitely faster than me as well. And you can see with the rear camera exactly where he's gaining time on me. I kind of missed that apex a little bit, and you can see that I think he just gets the car through the corner a lot neater than I do. And yeah, it's just a lot smoother and a lot quicker than I am, especially because I haven't had anyone quick to follow yet. So once Henry gets past me, I've got someone to chase. I end up finding a bit of time, and he doesn't really pull away from me. So, I mean, I wasn't catching him when he was ahead of me, but he wasn't gapping me. So I'd say that once he got past me, he was only probably about 1-2 tenths a lap quicker than me in general, which if you include the tyre difference as well, then maybe that's about 3 to 4 tenths. The slipstream does play a bit of an effect here at Llandow, but I don't think it's ridiculous. One of the weird things as well that you get is you get a bit of an aero wash sometimes, and I particularly wasn't noticing any of that aero wash at Llandow, so it was much easier to follow at this circuit than at other circuits where we do seem to find that dirty air affects our cars. It's really weird to say that there's dirty air in karting, and probably some people are listening to me thinking, what on earth are you talking about? You don't get dirty air, there's no downforce in go-karts. But I can promise you, if you're in this car behind another driver going through some corners on the calendar, you definitely feel aero wash or dirty air, whatever you want to call it. There is something going on, and you have less front end grip, 100,000%. If I hadn't experienced it myself, I would never believe it. I'd never believe anyone who talked about it, but it's true. If you speak to a lot of people who do BPEC, they will tell you the same thing as well. But Llandow wasn't one of those circuits where I, at the very least, noticed that aero wash. But then again, I was never really close enough to anyone to be able to follow them and notice it. But you can see Henry's gaining a lot of time on me through that double left, and then he sends it nice and late up the inside through the double right. We don't have it coming together. I see him just in time. I actually had an incident in the race because of someone who went for that overtake. I saw them just a little bit too late. They went for a bit later than Henry did, and it ended quite badly. But now that we've got Mr. Trina in front of us, I've got someone to follow, and he doesn't really get me. I mean, he pulls a tiny bit ahead of me, but I think what I've just kind of noticed is I'm a lot better when I'm following people, and in this situation as well, with me now having slipstream, and I've probably got 1 to 2 tenths in the tyres, that was enough for me to be able to stick to the back of Mr. Trina. And when you sit behind someone who's quick for a long time, you also get better because you start following what they do, you get into their rhythm as well, and you just learn a lot. I think this was one corner where I felt particularly good. I could kind of consistently do it again and again, and even if I got it a bit wrong, it didn't seem to affect me too much. Although, to be honest, you can see just how good I was through that chicane. A big part of it could have been down to the difference in tyres between our two karts, but I think I just took it fairly well that time. So I'm just sitting behind. I'm not trying to overtake. I just want to follow and learn, see where he's gapping me, and I can see that he's already pulled a bit on me through that first chicane. So I'm thinking, okay, right, I need to figure out what is he doing differently to me through that chicane, and then try to follow it. And through that double right as well, he kind of just fires out of the corner a tiny bit better than I do, and that's despite that tyre difference, despite the fact that he's got old tyres. So in the back of my head, I'm thinking, right, is that a setup thing? Is he driving differently to me? What can I do? So I need to, essentially, what I now need to do is I need to try out his lines, do them for a few laps, and then decide, okay, are his lines better than my lines? And if they're not, if it's about the same, if I'm not feeling quicker, then I need to think, okay, what is it a setup thing then? Is his setup allowing that line that he's taking to be quicker, or is he just taking a worse line than me, but his setup's better than me, for example, or maybe he's got better engines? But I think our engines were very similar in pace, so it was just about learning, it was just about following. And to be honest, for the most part, once I followed the slight differences that Henry was making through the corners where he was quicker than me, I found time. So it was purely a driver diff, a big driver diff, because Henry's handicapped as well with those old tyres. So yeah, not really much more to say other than that. Again, sorry that this camera angle doesn't really show everything. I get a bit of a better run through the final corner because Mr. Trina misses the apex, not by a country mile, but by a significant amount that allows me to close in. And again, I'm starting to get a little bit quicker, a little bit more consistent. It's a shame you can't see the lap times that I'm setting, as there I go a little bit wide through the left-handers. If you go back, you can let the kart really wide through that double left-hander, but there is a little divot, and if a wheel goes into it, the back end just kind of spins up, and that's what happened there, which is why I've dropped a bunch of time. And at least with me, when I make a mistake like that, it tends to affect my next few corners. It takes me a while to get back into my rhythm, which is something that I need to improve on, because if you want to be one of the better drivers, if you make a small mistake, I mean, one, you shouldn't be making small mistakes, but if you do, you need to be straight back in the game almost immediately. So yeah, that was, you know, another kind of learning point. But despite that, I'm still kind of closing, well, maybe not closing back in, but I'm holding the gap to Trina up ahead. And actually, just in front of Mr. Henry Trina is a certain Jess Alexander, who drives in the number 1 car, and as one might expect, the number 1 car means that you are the reigning champion. So I didn't feel bad, because, you know, part of me was thinking, oh, Henry's gapped me and he's on all the tyres. But then I thought, wait, hang on a second. Henry's actually catching up to Jess. So Henry's just really, really fast. And he tends to be quite fast anyway. Maybe not as fast as Jess, but I don't know what's going on. So maybe Jess had even older tyres, or, I mean, who knows really. So for me, it was just, hey, look, I'm catching up to Jess Alexander, and I'm kind of significantly catching up as well. And yes, I know I've got better tyres on and all of that, but still, you're catching up to Jess, you're catching up to Jess. You take that. That's a victory and a half. That's the kind of thing that can make you go to sleep happy at night. As I have a little look over at the GoPro, and at this point I was thinking, oh, Henry's going to push Jess along, or Henry's going to overtake Jess, and then Jess is going to sit in the slipstream from Henry, and the pair of them are going to pull away from me. So I was really desperate to try to catch up to these two as quickly as I could, so that I could follow them, because that's what I wanted from this. I wanted to be able to follow these two and learn from them, rather than having to be by myself for, you know, however long. So let's see whether we can catch. We get a really good run through the first chicane, and we are now in, well, slipstream range. Again, just make sure you get those double apexes. You can see in the picture-in-picture that we are pretty much making it, and how close we are getting to some of those curbs, even if, unfortunately, you know, the camera angle isn't the best. We take loads of curb through that right-hander. We get it absolutely spot on, and at this point I'm thinking, oh, hey, look, I'm actually a lot quicker than Jess. I'm in this slipstream, so I think, you know what, let's go for an overtake. I pull over to the inside, but as I get on the brakes, I just realized, oh my god, Jess is braking so late, I can't actually outbrake her. So I'm thinking, okay, right, that first attempt, that was kind of getting my eye, and that was seeing how late does Jess want to brake, and then how late do I have to brake if I want to pull off the overtake. So I'm now spending this lap kind of mentally preparing myself, saying, right, okay, next time, this is where I have to brake to pull off this kind of an overtake. Because I know it's going to be really difficult, because, I mean, that last lap, I was absolutely shocked. I was just thinking, I cannot brake that late. What in the flippity flop am I meant to do to overtake Jess? So again, we get an okay run. Are we going to be close enough? We're going to get a fairly sizable amount of slipstream. We aren't going to go to the inside. We're going to sit behind again. Gives us another opportunity to, I guess, get our eye in and have a feel of how late we need to brake to be able to pull off that move. I think one of the big things that I kind of learned from this session is, when you're going for these overtakes, it's not about being late on the brakes. You can brake at pretty much the same time sometimes. It's just about easing off the brakes earlier, and then letting it roll a bit hotter into the apex, and then just slowing down a bit more at the apex, if that makes sense. So you're not really trying to get the overtake done in the first part of the braking zone. You're trying to get it done a little bit later, as Henry lets both me and Jess through, and this means that Jess doesn't have slipstream and I do. So I'm going to pull over to the inside, I'm going to get on the brakes, and I'm going to completely miss the apex. Well, not completely, but I noticeably missed the apex. So that's, I guess, attempt number 2 down the drain. So our first overshoot, but I know, look, I'm quicker, so I'm just thinking, right, okay, next time let's get it done a bit better. And I was actually really happy that I'd messed it up in a way, because it meant that, okay, right, this is an opportunity to learn. This is an opportunity to grow and think, okay, right, so I haven't been able to do this overtake. Now I can learn how to pull off this kind of overtake against a very high quality driver. And I think one of the things that I was really happy with was I was consistently able to get that chicane right and put myself in a position where I could go for that overtake on Jess. I think I messed up earlier in the lap, so I wasn't close enough that time, despite getting a decent run through the chicane. But I think from this point onwards, I start putting in really good laps behind Jess, just to immediately close back in. And again, I'm still kind of learning as well, so I'm kind of seeing what Jess is doing and thinking, right, is that something that I want to do? Jess kind of fires out of that corner better, slightly earlier apex from her, opening up the steering a bit earlier, which is probably why that was happening. But again, I know I'm close. I know I'm getting this section of the circuit quite well. Is it good enough? Probably not, but I am in the tow. Am I going to be able to go for the send? Nope, gonna have to sit behind. So 2 laps in a row where I haven't been able to go for the overtake. So I guess that wasn't a lap where I got it really well. I guess this is probably where it starts. Taking that kind of tight line all the way through turn 1. But one of the things that I've noticed in general is that I just always find that the elites are just so good at firing out of corners. And no matter what I do, I always just seem to lose that half a kart length coming out of, I mean, pretty much every single corner. And then, you know, every now and then I'll get it right and be able to stick with them. But, you know, 9 times out of 10 I won't, and I'll lose that little bit of time. And over a lap, that's over a tenth. That's nearly 2 tenths. And that's, I think that is the main kind of difference between them and me. I pull out of the slipstream on the brakes again, and I outbrake myself by even more this time. I mean, look at how much time we've lost. I was absolutely loving it because I was just thinking, you know, learning experience. Yeah, I was just thinking, right, I need to make this move work. I need to get this move done before Jess comes into the pits, because otherwise I won't be able to say that I overtook Jess. So regardless of the tyre difference that is going on, I knew I had to make this overtake work. I had to pull it off, and you know, I've had 3 opportunities to do it. I mean, twice I've outbraked myself. Once I kind of, I mean, well, I pursued out of it, didn't I? Oh, I probably shouldn't say that word. Sorry. So here we go then. Attempt number 4. We're going to pull to the inside once again. We're going to get on the brakes, and have we made the apex? Yes, we have. So to be fair, it only took us 4 attempts, right? It only took us 2 fail sends, and then the 3rd one was successful, right? So 3rd attempt was the charm. I think that's pretty impressive. What wasn't impressive was my next 2 laps after I overtook Jess were awful. I think I missed pretty much every single apex that ever existed, that has ever been known to man. I just missed it. I could not hook up a lap together. I mean, you can see I missed that apex by a country mile. God only knows how much I missed this. It's not terrible, but yeah, I mean, despite that, I'm somewhat pulling from Jess, so maybe I was just carrying a lot more speed in general. So even though I was missing the apex, carry a little bit more speed, it kind of sorts itself out. Completely missed the apex through the final corner. Yeah, I don't know, maybe I should drive like this, because I mean, clearly something seems to be working. I missed the apex again. You can see Jess catching up, going into the corners massively, and then losing a bit of time coming out just because of that tyre difference, I guess. Or maybe as well, just because I'm going in a bit wider, I can get on the power a little bit earlier. Yeah, and at this point, I mean, as you can see in the picture-in-picture, we've kind of pulled out a nice gap to the number 1 kart, and yeah, just kind of get our heads down, continue to put in laps. I was just thinking, I can't believe I've messed up this many laps, and I was also thinking, oh, I'm in no man's land now. There's no one for me to really sit behind and follow. I miss an apex again, and you can see how much time I lose as a result. So in my head, I'm thinking, right, okay, I was able to put in good lap times behind Henry and Jess. Now that I don't have them in front of me, I'm absolutely choking. So in my head, I was thinking, right, I want to do 2 or 3 good laps now without a quick driver in front of me. I need to kind of prove to myself that I can put in those good lap times when I don't have someone to follow. And then once I've done that, then I want to pit. I can't remember if my teammates were waiting for me to come in regardless, but I definitely did get to a point where I was a little bit happier with the laps I was doing before I pitted. And do I come into the pits this time round? No, I don't. I stay out, I make the apex. This lap is a much better lap. Jess is going to go into the pits, so I don't have to worry about that anymore. Otherwise, before I was looking over my shoulder every now and then just to see how big the gap had become, or whether Jess was still right behind me. So yeah, I mean, to be fair, this lap has been much better. It's been more consistent, it's been smoother, it's not been erratic. So this is how I should have been driving from the start. You know, I'm making the apexes that I need to, and all of that. And I think that's one of the big things that, you know, in testing you have to do. It's not about being able to find, you know, one quick lap and saying, hey, I did let's say a 51.2, but then all of your other laps are 51.5. It's, as I completely missed the apex, it's about being able to say, you know, okay, your fast lap is a 51.2, but I just did 10 51.3s in a row. That's much better than being able to have one really quick single lap. And I think that's probably something that I'm still building towards. And I have felt that this year in general, I've got quicker in the whole game of consistency. But it is one of those things to remember in endurance racing. You're not pushing for that incredibly fast lap time. You're aiming for consistency. You know, quick laps over and over again. And I think Llandow was one of those circuits where I was starting to feel consistent. You know, I started to figure out what I wanted to do, and if I wanted to do that, I could do that lap after lap after lap after lap within a couple of tenths of each other. The issue was I did keep trying to push to find a bit more time because I knew there was more time in the kart. So, you know, the pace and consistency is slowly getting there. I'm not going to be posting a video of the actual race vlog. I just wanted to focus on my actual karting for this weekend, rather than distracting myself by doing videos and all of that. And unfortunately, the weekend did not go well despite that. So we had a bit of a nightmare. The first race, there was an incident on the opening lap, not involving me, but things happened on the opening lap, and that kind of put us out of contention. In the second race, the kart was just much slower than it was in race 1. So yeah, there we go. We're going to head into the pit lane, a very narrow pit entry here at Llandow, and that brings this video to an end. So thank you very much for watching. Drop a like and subscribe if you enjoyed this. If you found this useful at all, you probably didn't. You're probably grateful that I am now going to stop waffling. See you all in the next video. Assalamu alaikum.